And then let's see. There. And there. Make sure there's no feedback on there. Better? Okay. So good afternoon. Thank you guys for coming, and then thank you for inviting me. Today, Rachel had invited KPEDD to present to hopefully the business community in Soldovia, and council members and anyone interested in what kind of resources KPEDD has to offer, not just Soldovia, but the region as a whole, and what we do. Later tonight at the council meeting, I'll be presenting to the council as a whole as our quarterly outreach to our municipalities and in our incorporated communities to give an overview of what we've been up to and what we're doing and what we're working on. But today we're going to kind of deep dive into more of our products and our resources that we have for businesses. We have some existing programs. We have some programs that we're getting some of those final details finalized to start pushing out. It's a revolving loan program from EDA. And we've got a business resiliency toolkit that we're putting together and hopefully rolling out this spring. So we want to share with you what we have on deck and what we have existing to hopefully spur some economic development or spur some motivation or inspiration to a business owner, somebody who's trying to make ends meet or trying to start something new. We are a resource on the peninsula that we're here to help, and we're here to kind of bridge those gaps in case there's any gaps that you're experiencing. So we'll get started. There we go. There. So this is just a brief overview of what we'll talk about, what the slideshow is about. But I wanted to also make sure that we have a chance to discuss as a group what Soldovia is looking to do from an economic development standpoint. What are the goals? What is the trajectory, and which direction does Soldovia want to go as a whole? And hopefully the stakeholders in Soldovia can gather together to accomplish that goal and create some momentum. So KPEDD is a private non-governmental resource. We're a 501c4 and a 501c3. We have two entities within the KPEDD umbrella, and we focus on responsible and sustainable economic development for our region. We try to locate financing, we orchestrate community collaborations, we work with municipalities, unincorporated communities, chambers, all sorts of different groups that are looking to either find funding for projects that they're looking to fund, or just kind of bridge those gaps. So we try to connect public and private together to make sure that the economic infrastructure of the Kenai Peninsula is met and strong. And we've found out over the last 5 years or so, through the earthquake, through the fires, and most recently through the pandemic, how important having a healthy economic infrastructure is for a region, and how we really are all intertwined together. And so the strength of one is the strength of all. And we firmly believe that. This last summer, at the beginning of summer, we finalized the region's comprehensive economic development strategy. And the overarching goal in that strategy is to elevate and maintain the quality of life that the region holds. That's one of the highest responses that we had in all of our feedback from private and public sector, is that the quality of life here is most important to most of our residents. And so we want to uphold that. And there's different goals that we address within that overarching goal, such as broadband access, technology, infrastructure and supports, and making sure that underneath that overarching goal is a strong like a subfloor, if you will. Whoops, how'd that do? Sorry about that. Why is that going up? Oh, sorry. There we go. There. So one thing that we really feel is important for KPEDD to focus on is working with and collaborating with all of the different organizations and all of the different groups that the region holds. We are really robust in the variety of different stakeholders that we have on the peninsula. I mean, we have the fishing industry, we have manufacturing, we have oil, we have gas, we have the private sector, we have business entrepreneurs, we have, you know, we have Avtech, we have Kenai Peninsula, the community college, we have the school district. So we have all of these different entities that need to thrive. And financially, in order to do that, we believe that bringing them together and making sure that everybody is connected with those resources is one of the ways that we can uphold that strength. And so one of our building blocks is prioritizing these relationships and these connections. As you can see, we have a lot of partners that we work with on a regular basis. Most recently, we've been working with all of the municipalities on a variety of projects that they're focused on in order to get either funded or going to gather some momentum. And also we deal a lot with the USDA, the EDA, the Denali Commission, a lot of federal agencies. And so we're able to hold a kind of a file, if you picture in your head a file of those resources from those entities. And then with our connections and relationships that we have with our stakeholders, we're able to better place people where they need to be going based on what projects they're looking for. And we feel like that's a really efficient, proficient way to operate and to make sure that people are in the right direction or going in that pathway. And we want to be there to help because, again, their successes are everybody's successes in terms of financial stability and resiliency. Oh, I love this slide. So, as I said, we completed the draft of the SEDS earlier this summer. And I think a really good example of our outreach and our engagement is what we did for the SEDS engagement. We wanted to make sure that we created a document that wasn't just a placeholder on somebody's shelf. We wanted to create a document that is usable, that is applicable, that is relevant to what our region is going through, what our communities are feeling. And we realized that the way to do that is to connect with all of these stakeholders. Tim, myself, and the KPEDD staff, we reached out to over 25 to 30 groups and organizations through the the public comment period to make sure that all of those groups were represented somehow in the SEDS document. And it's that level of engagement that we feel we're going to have the best outcomes at the end of the day. So we really felt that that outreach was sufficient and above what the normal is, which is a couple of emails requesting public comment. We actually pounded the pavement and went to the communities to make sure that they had that their voice and their comments and their feelings and what their communities were going through were represented in that document. So we have a lot of ongoing projects. We have many projects going on, but the one that we've also just wrapped up is our Kenai Peninsula Workforce website. We hope that employers and businesses and schools and really anybody that is looking to move to the region or is thinking about maybe changing a career or looking to see if there's another industry that they'd like to pursue or some interest job wise, they can go to our Kenai Peninsula Workforce website, and there's so much information on this. It's such a comprehensive website. It's separate from our kped.org website. I can even take you there real quick if you don't mind. Here we go. So this website, we hope that business owners will use it to see what kind of training resources there are for either their existing employees or maybe their industry requires more training or more certifications. Maybe they're looking to expand and they are trying to figure out what training and certifications that expansion would require. You can go to our website and you can find out different industry standards. Let's say you want to maritime, let's go to tourism. So it can take you to what kind of degrees you could get in the tourism industry, what kind of opportunities for hospitality education, training. There's training programs, which I didn't even know, and it'll take you to that website for Alaska Rivers Company that trains you how to be a tour guide on the river. So we want students, we want people, we want organizations to know that this tool is out there and it's all inclusive, all encompassing, and it can lead you down the pathway of considering a career or a career change, finding a new job, or seeing what kind of opportunities out there on the peninsula. So we really love this website. I like to just go and cruise around on it, but there's resume help, there's cover letter help, there's services. You can look for apprentices, training, see what you need to do to become a CNA. And it'll take you down all of those different components of getting those certifications. And it's just a very useful tool. So this was one thing that we've been working on this year that we love. Where'd I go here? Down. And there we go. So, and we've been working with last spring and in the end of 2019, Tim and the team really focused on the AK Cares program and made sure that they were a resource and an advocate for businesses on the peninsula. And it was a very uncertain time for many of us. And we knew that people needed to know how to get from point A to point B during this pandemic. Business wise, there were so many unknowns for so many people. So the resources and the support that KPED offered during that time was, I mean, Caitlin, who's our programs manager, she literally would make appointments and business owners would come in. They would get all of the paperwork together, all of the applications, everything that they needed to do to submit it to make sure that they could get that grant and fund their business. Because I mean, we didn't know what was going to happen. I don't think anybody really did know at that time what to expect. And so that support was there for many businesses on the peninsula. And as a result of that, and people's hard work, determination, commitment, and obviously a lot of trust, we had very little business closures through the pandemic on the peninsula. Very few businesses were forced to close. Somehow they made it work with the EIDL, the PPP, and the CARES program. And that's not all areas can say that. Not all industries can say that in Alaska or nationwide. And we feel really grateful and thankful that there wasn't any attrition in that regard. So we'll see on this next thing. We'll talk about ARPA in just a couple of minutes. But we're working on the resiliency program, and we're one of 9 state recognized ARDers. And so we're on a coalition and advocacy group with the state ARDer program. KPED's organized the census coordination for our region, and we worked on the SEDS this year. So we work on a lot of different things, a lot of variety. One thing that we do have at our home office in Kenai, which is right off the Kenai Spur Highway, is the Business Incubation Center. The campus that we have our main office in has also tenants for startups, for young businesses that didn't have enough resources, financial resources or assets in hand to take that next step as a business. And our incubation center houses, I think we have 8 now, 1, 2, 3, 4. 8. We have the 8 tenants in our building, and what they do is they conduct their regular business. We have the Kenai Driving School, which is really cool. We have the radio station. We have the Petroleum Academy, All American Oil, Theta Inspections, which is a science nuclear reactor type stuff. I'm not exactly sure. But we have these incubator tenants that are housed in our office, in our building, and they're able to get the land, the warehouse, the office space to conduct business at a very low rate than going into a commercial setting. And they also get to tap into what KPED has for resources. So a lot of them need, a connector or some type of information to take care of their taxes, or to file a report, or do their 941s, or looking for some funding but not sure where. I mean, they just poke their head in Tim's office or Caitlin's office and they're able to access that support immediately. And we nurture and guide and kind of get them lifted up so that they have a stable position when they take that next step for their business. Our tenants our campus is completely full, so we have no openings, but we're happy when we do have openings. For instance, the Kenai Peninsula Driving School, they just were able to purchase a parcel of land that they're going to be moving their operations to in the next 18 months. And that's exciting because that means that they had an idea for a business, they worked on it, they built it up, and now they're ready to fly the coop, so to speak. So they're taking that next step, and it's so nice to see them being able to take that next step and go into that next phase for their businesses. And we're happy to know them in that regard. So we love our incubation center. We love our tenants, and we like to see people's, not everybody is flush with a huge financial resource. So if you have an idea to open a business, you don't necessarily have all of the necessary resources. And we hope that we're part of that resource, those resource networks that people are looking for. Let's go to the last one, sorry. Oh, there. That's why, because I keep touching the wrong one. So one of our oldest programs is we have a microloan program. And what this is a source of financing for business owners or startups, borrowers, that they have sought funding in traditional manners. So they've gone to a bank or two banks or a lender, and they're trying to get their business started, or they need, $15,000 to make ends meet for their inventory until the next quarter, or they need some type of financial support. This microloan fund is a fund that has been incepted in KPEDD since 2010. And we have a board, there's a finance loan board, there's an application process, but it provides these small loans. It's up to $25,000 to business owners and those needing funds for either their business or their startups to make that end meet, to make that goal kind of happen. It's a higher interest rate, so we're at prime +4. I think this morning prime was right around 4%. So it's a higher interest rate, but these are for usually high risk type of entities. So you've gone to a bank, you've gotten turned down for whatever reason. We're here to make sure that that's not the end all be all. When you leave the bank, there's one more option, and it's small, it's minimal, but sometimes those minimal types of loans really make the most difference for a lot of businesses. Usually the payoff is 3 years to 4 years. There's an application, there's a whole, you have to submit a business plan. There's an extensive amount of paperwork. But that comes with the territory, right? You can't go to a bank and just say, I'd like some money, and they give it to you. There's some paperwork and a process. So we have that process in place, but we've processed, and I think we've done about 25, 26 loans over the last 11 years. We have 3 active loans out right now. So it's not that a lot of people are seeking this resource, but it's there. But we hope that we can make some ends meet. So some of our, the loans, the funds can be used for a number of things. There's no cap to what you can use it for, as long as it's for your business and for a legitimate business. So equipment, professional equipment, any type of, if you have a retail store, there was a retail store that we provided the funding for some startup costs. There was a renovation that we did, working capital, those types of things to help your business get where it needs to be going. A couple of our most notable loan recipients, and I did talk to the owners of both companies, was the Alaska Salt Company. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the one in Homer, but they were just, young couple, they had this idea of doing home-based salt out of the bay here, but they just couldn't get funded. And so we were the last ditch effort that they, they were just hoping that somebody would help them out to just make that next step. And we did. We funded them, and they are doing fantastic right now. They've really branched out. They've expanded their brand, and they've really, really done like, it's just one of those nice, warm, fuzzy success stories that we want to see as an economic hub for them. Another is Kenai River Brewing Company. They were, making really small batch craft beers out of their garage, essentially, and they wanted to take that next step. Couldn't get funded, needed some more heavier duty large batch equipment, and applied with us, and we got them that loan, and they're doing great now. So we love seeing that, because they got to see their dream come true, and they get to go to that next step, and not have that door shut in their face. So it's fun. I love that. This is the part of the job that I really like, is to see these people, see anybody, want to do something, have passion to do something, not have, the complete package to make it happen. And then we could have filled in those blanks for them. Again, with me doing this, I'm so sorry. Okay, let's just stick with arrows. So another program that we are putting together, and we have just like 3 more pieces of our puzzle that we're waiting to get put together, and then we'll be able to roll it out and start lending, is the EDA. We have a resiliency loan fund that we have funded through the EDA, and it's a loan program to help improve disaster recovery, create economic disaster resiliency programs within your business, create sustainability models and economic resiliency models within your business. So what we applied for this a few years ago, right when we were in the midst of, it was the post-earthquake, and I think we were right in the middle of the fires up in Cooper Landing. And we were really, really seeing the need for businesses to have systems in place to make sure that in the event of a disaster, whether it be a fire, an earthquake, or a pandemic, that they have a system in place so they won't just go under, or they won't just have to close their doors. So what we have that we're putting together is a loan fund that will bridge, either give you immediate assistance as a business owner, or give you a bridge loan until you can get to that next step where you have enough sales, or whatever you need the funds for, and you will be able to make ends meet and not shut your doors. We want to create some sustainability at a smaller level. I think everybody recognizes, I know the municipalities have emergency plans in place. You have mitigation plans, and you have these documents and these systems in place so that when something does happen, you say, okay, I can go to A, B, and C. Well, we're going to do that at the business level, and make sure that businesses are resilient in these times of uneasiness and uncertainty. We have, excuse me, you can use the funds for your working capital, inventory acquisition, construction, installation, equipment, machinery. This fund is more of a traditional loan that you would get out of a bank. We don't have this loan here to compete with traditional lenders. We want to complement what they already have. So the application process is a little bit more in depth. Our review board is a little bit more, I think we have 2 members from banks on the review board. But the loan itself isn't for high risk individuals. It's more for a broader based population. We have where we're at right now. Before we haven't loaned this loan, we haven't loaned any money out. We have our final applications and our final paperwork is in with our legal team, and they are reviewing, doing their review of our documents. And once those get out, our surety bond should be finalized, and then we'll be ready to start pushing this out. And we've had some questions about when is this going to be available and why isn't it out right now? And we got hung up with our surety bond, but before this last year, the loans, people were accessing loans and people were borrowing money. Right now, for the last 2 years, because of the federal money that is out on the street, the grants for the business sector and the EIDL, the PPP, and the CARES money, people aren't borrowing. People they're spending their time as business owners and accessing the grant programs that are in place right now from the pandemic. So we feel that there's going to be this need here relatively soon for people that are trying to make ends meet business-wise, and they're going to need to start borrowing money. And so we're anticipating there's going to be a greater need on the peninsula for this actual program. Oh, my Lord. Okay. Did that one. And the AK ARPA business relief program. So this the application period just opened 10 days ago or so. And it's quite a bit different than the CARES program. The state has made a few provisions on here that are different from the CARES program. And you have to be a viable business and et cetera, but right now you have to demonstrate that your business has a 50% or greater loss in net income in the past year. And so I think that may be a very poignant requirement for this grant program, as well as the need to have a dunce number on the application for your application to be even considered. Those two requirements themselves were not in the mix during AK CARES, and we're hearing from a lot of businesses that feel like they should be eligible but are not because of these requirements. Tim is actually meeting with the Commissioner of Commerce today and be talking to them about these particular nuances of this new application, because it doesn't seem that it's as broadly applicable for many of the businesses for this program. But this is the intro in case your business can apply. You can go to commercealaska.gov and there's the application process. We will try to do our best. If you call our offices, we'll try to do our best to assist, but we're not doing that heavy lift that we did with AK CARES this round. Our capacity is we're spread thin right now, but we also just don't know enough about the ins and outs of the process this go around. So as we did on the last one. Our upcoming programs, like I had talked about, we are working with the University of Alaska Anchorage, the Center for Economic Development up in Anchorage, and we're working with them on creating we're calling them toolkits. I'm trying to find a new word other than toolkits, but we're trying to put together resources, a variety of resources in different formats. So there'll be some good old fashioned paper documents. There'll be some web videos. There'll be some documents that are online that you can access online, some guides. There'll be hopefully some in-person workshop that business owners can access. Things like understanding your financial statements, things like filing for your federal taxes, your unemployment taxes, financial planning, record keeping, inventory management, exit planning, succession, what can you do next in your business, how to market yourself better, how to create an online presence. So all of those topics we're trying to put into kind of information bundles that as a business owner, and we know that usually small businesses, you're running in 50,000 directions at any given moment. You don't have time to sit down and really attend a workshop on A, B, and C. Well, we want to create some type of resources and toolkits for business owners to grasp those topics and that information and be able to apply it into their business easily and seamlessly and with the minimal amount of time. We want you to be able to attend one of our webinars and put that information to use in your business so then you can start running your business smoother or easier, or think of running your business in a new way. Because the business world changes so much, some people don't get to stay up with the trends or even have an idea of what's out there if you want to change your marketing style. So what we're doing is we're putting together these toolkits. For now, we'll use toolkits. We're putting together these toolkits. Hopefully we'll be able to unveil them this spring. And really, we want business owners to have information that is current, that is easy to use, easy to understand, and easy to apply. We know that as a business owner, you think that you want to sell coffee cups and you have a passion for coffee cups, but you don't really, your strength isn't in, making sure that you had enough coffee cups. So your inventory management could be a little bit better. We're trying to give you some skills that you can use broadly in your business and make it a little bit more fine-tuned and more successful. Because what we want to do is just make sure that people can be successful in the ways that they imagine themselves when they think they're going to run a business. And then, this is a video. This is our MEP video. We just finished our working with the Manufacturing Extension Program and putting together a compilation of different people and different business owners in different industries on the peninsula. And the end goal is to have this be shown with the Alaska channel and with that, how you go into a hotel and you turn on the TV and it comes up right on that, whatever, default channel. This would be playing on that default channel to promote the peninsula as a place to not just visit, but think about living here, think about moving here, think about working and living and raising a family here or whatever it is. Think beyond just visiting the peninsula.
Would you like to locate a place with a stable, skilled workforce, great qualities like low cost and a business support structure to you? The Kenai Peninsula, with the Alaska Manufacturing Extension Partnership, housed within the develop
Hmm. There. There we go. So that's all I have. I'm wondering, I'd like to talk to you guys about what the city is talking about, what the council is talking about, what you're hearing in terms of economic development for our community and how that fits into kind of our regional, our SEDS and that regional overarching goal. And then what are some ways that we can help, that KPEDD can help or connect with Seldovia and help go forward. So I kind of want to open this up.
Thanks, Heidi. Well, something that we've been doing just to even understand what the dreams of the community were for the next few decades was reviewing the comprehensive plan, which hadn't been, I don't think, reviewed by the city since the adoption in 2014. And so looking through what were some of the dreams that were established back then, what have we done now that it's 2021? So in the 7 years, have we made progress? How have we used this? And then using that as a guiding document for the next steps. So two of the things that the comprehensive plan touched on was the city needing to develop a tourism strategy, as well as I think an economic development strategy. There were two plans that were called out. So I could see that being something that KPEDD helps with in terms of, oh, got a little feedback there. Just leveraging the networking resources to get more stakeholders involved, because the tale of what's happening here in Seldovia, rural Alaska, isn't unique just to Seldovia, but it is unique, I would say, for the Kenai Peninsula being a first-class city and what we're facing compared to all of the other home rule or first-class cities that are on the road system. And so there's that tension between being an actual established city and wanting to be here for the residents, but then also attracting a lot of people to come here. And so I don't know what the intention was when the community said that we needed a tourism strategy. Maybe you have history on that, but that's something that's been on my mind is I don't think that's happened. We have a Chamber of Commerce. We have another governmental agency, a tribal agency, and the city. And how could we bring people together to even have a plan for the plan? That was the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah. And I think you're spot on. And you know, where do you start? How does it go forward? And getting the comprehensive plan, if I remember correctly, it was the agency that we contracted with did a lot of community events. They were here for, I want to say, like 6 months to a year, where they interviewed people and got an idea of how Seldovia works, and what people are finding important and worth, obviously worth living and working and investing in the community, what that looks like. And then how does that fit into that bigger vision of where is Seldovia going? And I don't remember the tourism plan discussions around it. I don't remember what the pieces were of that. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean more marketing? Is that one thing that the stakeholders can do is come together and market Seldovia in such a way that it accesses another level of tourist or visitor? What kind of visitor do you want coming here? Do you want a day visitor, or do you want visitors to stay here for 3 or 4 days? So asking all of those questions And then seeing what we have. I mean, we have a great seasonal base. So we have, can't remember how many bed and breakfasts and hotel rooms. I know that the chamber knows that number, right? Knows the number of available beds in town at any, if we had to open, how many beds do you have for visitors to stay in? Knowing those pieces of information would help form that tourism strategy, I guess. I guess it's a strategy.
Yeah, and someone had offered this insight about the comp plan that was very true, that the city can't be expected to uphold the comprehensive plan. It's a plan that's designed for multiple partners. And I could see this discussion falling a lot to the city, but the city can't even take care of on a sustainable basis what it already has.
Mhm.
So how can you then be, and this is something the council and I are working on, is how can you even dream about what you want to shape your community when you still need to
Mhm.
add systems and efficiencies in place and understand funding so that you can then
Mhm.
get on a sustainable track. And I wrote down, I love that you put the financial stability and resiliency piece in there, because that's what's going to allow the city to then be able to dream big,
Mhm. Mhm.
to be working on more economic development.
Yeah.
I don't know how we get there.
Right. That's a huge question. And I think that is, and there's not going to be one action or one policy or one piece of there's not going to be one silver bullet that's just going to come in and just take care of everything, right? One day you're not going to have something happen and the next day you're going to wake up and it's a whole new Seldovia, or it's this thriving, robust Seldovia. It takes all of these steps to get there. But I hope that the business community here, or people thinking about opening a business or operating a business, whatever it may be, can know that there's resources to help them meet those goals, whatever they look like. And KPEDD is one of those resources. And I don't know if we're trying to really make sure that people know that we're out there.
Mhm.
Over the last 5 years, Tim and team have really made sure to get out there and say, hey, we're here and this is what we're doing and this is what we're here for. This is how we get funded. We get funded when we have success stories, or we get funded when we put these systems in place to make the overall infrastructure and systems in place stronger. And I hope that there's value in that for people here to know that you can think outside the box, and there are things that can be done here on a small scale that might have a bigger impact down the road. But to come together and find whatever that is, right? So the stakeholders that are in town, they can work together and unified to meet that need, because I think we all live here for whatever reason. We live here for a reason. It may be different reasons, but we're all have some type of love and devotion to this community in some level. Yeah, I'm rambling, sorry. I love Saltovia.
No, they're all really great points. And Heidi, I know you're helping administer the meeting, but feel free at any point to say anything. Well, something that would be great in the context of economic development or resources that KPEDD could help the city with is we're just now having a discussion this evening during a work session on the first ever land use management
Mhm.
plan draft.
Mhm.
And something that I've heard at least one council member mention is the desire to see land revisiting the city's portfolio of real estate and seeing are there parcels that would benefit the city to consider selling or long-term leasing, disposing of, to help the city figure out how to get out of this deficit that it's in. And like you said, it's not a silver bullet thing, so multi-prong approach, but how can the city leverage an asset like that with KPED, or perhaps instead of doing just a quick claim deed, pure sale, you can instead dispose of property with a development constraint on it. So you have to develop it within X amount of time. And I think that's what the city did after the Good Friday earthquake. There's, I believe, some parcels here that had a development clause placed upon them, so that there wasn't just speculation with Soldovia real estate, but you had people adding to the community. So that would be a great way that KPED could help the city, as well as looking at what other ways governments do public-private partnerships with already ongoing services. And so it's something that the city looked at in the past, and we pulled it from our fee schedule this year of figuring out water and sewer rates and perhaps lowering them 1 year, reducing it or eliminating it 1 month because you've paid off all the months ahead of time. I can't remember exactly what that special program was, but are there other ways that municipalities give services like that to businesses or residents? Because that's also in the comprehensive plan, is how can you do tax-based incentive structures, or how can you mobilize particular resources of your organization to help people who are trying to start.
Mhm. Incentivize. Yep.
Mhm.
It looks like Harmony
Oh,
is
great.
on the line and she has a question. She has her hand raised. So Harmony, go ahead and jump in whenever you can.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Heidi?
we can. Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Sorry. So I don't know if this is an appropriate time to ask this question, but it's something that I've been wondering about. And since you're all there, I was wondering about the city investing in our own type of long-term leases. I'm not in favor of the city. I'll just say this now, in favor of the city selling its property unless that is an absolute last-ditch effort. I think that leasing property is a really good way to go if we can do that type of thing. And with that in mind, I was wondering about leasing properties like the lot across from Smoky Bay Air in Homer. That is a lot that is really a really valuable asset to the villages across the water over here who, we all need a safe place to park our car. It'd be so expedient to have that lot back again. I don't think that it's something we'd be able to do right now at this moment, but is that an appropriate thing for a municipality to consider? Something like that, leasing land outside of our own community in order to have some sort of revenue like that that's not tax-based. Does that make sense? I don't know how to phrase that question quite.
So Harmony, you're basically asking, can the city look at another revenue source that could kind of be a service to its citizens, but it's not in city limits? So I would think, I don't know, the nearest example I'm thinking of is Jackaloff, but that's more Soldovia specific. But is that an okay action? And the first thing that comes to mind is, I know the University of Alaska Land Trust Office tried doing speculation where they were investing in or looking at real estate investments that were outside of Alaska. And I think that they were asked to be reeled back in to have more of an Alaska-based focus. And I could see the city facing a similar constraint where we're having a hard time as it is offering the services or managing the services in an efficient or responsible, that's the wrong word, not responsible, but effective or efficient way. So looking outside in order to generate revenue feels like stretching us a little bit thinner, but I'll defer to the former city manager to see if she has any insights.
Can I just say really quick, I agree with you, Rachel, that at this point in time, it's not something that we could do. I use that lot as an example because it's something that's, real time. It's a conversation that is happening with other entities in Homer, leasing that piece out. But as we know, as it has been stated, the fiscal viability of our community is going to be a multi-pronged, long-term investment. And as we go forward, considering different investments for our community, can we take those types of things into consideration as a municipality? Is it something that we can, it'd be nice to have an economy that is not solely based on tourism, just for our local foot traffic, but also have some sort of income for the city that is not super labor intensive on our staff and is not tax based. So again, I know that that's going to be really hard. I know that there's a lot of things that go towards, seeing people, moving vehicles, all those things. I know that all needs to be taken into consideration. But as we're going into the next meeting, talking about our financial future, are these types of things something that we can look for in our future?
I definitely say you can totally explore them. And I should correct myself for the record that I think it was actually the Mental Health Trust that considered doing something like that. And I think we're pulled in or reined in, but it's definitely something the city could look at. And with the ultimate goal of finding a sustainable revenue stream that can come in and be efficient and effective at supporting city resources.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be something KPEDD, we could look to KPEDD to help us with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it ties into not just the comprehensive plan, but just your guys' priorities and your strategy. So coming up with a plan, and knowing that for the next 5 years, you're going to focus on A, B, and C, the very basics of A, B, and C local government, and making sure that is where you guys want to be, so that you can branch out and you're ready to make investments in other places, whether it's land investments or one concept that we're discussing very loosely and very, very much like, well, what if is identifying, your carbon credits. Do you guys have land? And I know that your water treatment plant and the hill is, I think, 60 acres, 45 acres of forested land. Would that pencil out to sub out carbon credits in some manner? Would that create some type of revenue for you? So we're talking about that regionally because we know that a lot of our stakeholders and our partners that we deal with and that we work with have land. And so how can you make that land work for you in the most minimal way, because you don't have a huge amount of human resources. You don't have enough resources to do something very extensive, right? It's Seldovia size. Is that a strategy to go towards? But collectively, yeah, Harmony, to go back to your original comment, I think everything could be put out on the table. Every concept, every idea should be put out on the table. And that's how you start to get to sift through and really without even knowing where you get to your ultimate goal. That's how you can say, well, no, this wouldn't, you can talk broadly about concepts and reach a goal and reach a trajectory that will fit your guys's priorities and fit your guys's budget and fit your guys's, fit your capabilities. And I think that's a really healthy, productive way to do that. And I think you guys are getting that. Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you for answering my question. I won't take up any more of your time on that, but thanks. I just wanted some clarification on what is acceptable as a municipality.
Yeah, and I know that there are some constraints and policy around municipal funds and what you can do. Like, I don't think you can just go to the open market and invest willy-nilly tax dollars. I'm pretty sure there's limits to what you can do with your fund balances, whether you're investing, how you're investing them. But I don't know if that's where you guys are at, right? I think you're looking at everything right now, what you have, what you can do, where you're going, you're doing the big,
Yeah, we're in the bird's eye view.
yeah, the 30,000 foot.
Yeah, looking
Mhm.
at the city right now, having a clear understanding of trends, like what our historical trends have
Mhm.
been on all fronts for all funds. And then presenting that data to the council so that they can make the tough decisions as to what services the city should be offering on or needs to be offering to its constituents. And that could be first saying, all right, let's go out to the community, ask, is this a service that the community wants? If so, it takes X amount of dollars to fund. So that removes this part of our annual revenue from the tax base. So now we have this much left, just having that really hard conversation. There was a budget discussion a few years ago in which they were using physical Lego blocks or different blocks to kind of communicate the state of Alaska's budget, the state's budget. I thought it could be a really compelling way of showing the community you only have X amount coming in, and yet we've been doing X to the nth degree. So how do we get back on ground level? So for KPED, if you guys, at least working in the private sector with businesses, I mean, government is run differently. We're naturally ineffective because of public process and constraints that we operate under through statute. But if you were to see anything that we could be missing as a blind spot, and now that you've been in two places, not at once, but now that you understand, maybe there could be a way that we're just missing something.
Yeah. Well, we definitely keep our eyes and ears open for you guys and shoot you guys, the funding opportunities that come across our desks. And I hope that there gets to be a time where the city can consider grant opportunities and funding opportunities that are out there at that federal level. I think there's really some great programs that are good, that would be a good fit for Seldovia, but like we both know, all too well, is that there's just not enough time in the day. There's not enough people to do the work. And it's you find yourself just kind of chasing your tail sometimes because you want to do all of these things, but you're being held back by having to do just the primary things.
Right, which is where I've been really excited about ARPA. Because now the city has 66 grand. We got half of that this fiscal year, half next fiscal year. And then you can leverage that for grant writers. So that's another thing. If KPED has great grant writer suggestions on people who are familiar with water and sewer infrastructure and how you can access this federal grant if you have this person doing this. I mean, that would be a great insight too, because now the city has a little bit of money to work with.
Absolutely.
And then we also have this $25,000 small enhancement grant that we haven't figured
Right.
out.
What to do with.
Yeah.
Right.
So that would be a great
Perfect.
KPED.
Okay. Yeah. And we do have I'm not going to say a whole huge file of grant writers, but we can find, if we know, if you're looking for water, sewer infrastructure, if you're looking for that, we can find somebody, or we can find somebody for, not every grant writer is the same, right? Not every grant writer is able to write every single grant. That's not the way it works. So if you do have, your priority list of, we want to look for funding for ABC, please let us know that. We will be more than happy to go out and try to connect those dots for you and get you in touch with those entities or people that can make those things happen.
Thanks. That'd
Yeah.
be great.
Yeah.
All hands on deck.
No, that's great.
And I know this was, and I'm glad that Councilmember Sweat is here because she was part of the inspiration for even getting me to think about KPED and the business resources because of the kiosks and how the city had really tried to do economic development by creating a physical incubator here on the waterfront. So I don't know, Bobby, if you have anything you want to add on how can KPED help Soldovia leverage resources or?
Get us some renters. Yeah, I don't know. I talked to the group about the kiosks last meeting, and we're going to try a little bit more advertising, and just by getting some not signs, but what am I thinking? Banners and stuff that we can put out there, and just try to make them look a little bit more inviting, because I think they don't look very inviting, but there's really nothing we can do at this point to spiffy them up, because we don't have the money and don't want to put that money forth yet, if nobody's going to rent them. But the other side of the coin is they don't look very inviting. So we're going to try a couple of things and just see where we go from there. I mean, people know they're there, obviously, and like we've talked about, I think it'd be a great thing for somebody who wants to start out small, but so far, and I think probably a lot of it maybe is what's been happening the past couple of years. It wasn't the ideal timing, but who knew all this stuff was going to happen, with COVID and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. The pandemic did spin us out a little bit into uncharted territory. And I don't think anybody knew how it was going to pan out. I think we're a little bit more comfortable than we were 18 months ago, but I still know that it is having negative effects on economy in a variety of places nationwide, worldwide, and nationwide. And we're all trying to learn. We get to look back and figure out what we've learned, what worked, what didn't work, what can we put in place. And hopefully people are getting a little bit more confident in finding the strength in taking that next jump. But I think people were paralyzed a little bit with the pandemic in terms of making big moves.
For sure. It kind of struck me as funny, well, not kind of funny and kind of odd a little bit, like we got this sudden influx of, everything here for sure in Seldovia. And I've seen it and heard it from my family in Seward everywhere. And then you gotta wait hours at restaurants for food. You gotta wait, like my daughter-in-law and I tried to go eat when we came back from Valdez. Before we headed back to Seward, we tried to get in to get something to eat. Every place we went to had a line out the door.
Mhm,
It was insane.
mhm,
And in Seward too, most of the restaurants, they were open, but they were struggling because they had no help. They
Mhm.
closed as soon as Labor Day hit. Done. You
Mhm.
can't even right now. Literally, there's one, maybe two places to eat in Seward,
Yeah.
and that's never been. So it's kind of weird, how things have kind of gone from nothing, nobody going anywhere to being bombarded.
Yeah.
But yet there's no people to work,
Yeah.
it's
There-
weird.
There's so many factors at play right now. And,
Right.
and I was surprised. I'm surprised even to this day that I felt like in the last 18 months, there were several homes for sale here, and then all of a sudden there's nothing for sale. And, grateful that the people that have moved here are taking a chance on investing in this community, whether it's purchasing a house or a business, or trying to do something in this setting. And I think that because of the pandemic, there has been, to quote one of the employees at the Denali Commission, a rural revival in terms of people wanting to go smaller. The pandemic opened their eyes and made them want to make a lifestyle shift into a smaller setting. And maybe Seldovia can tap into that need of people recognizing that they want to downsize their life. And how can that play into your strategy moving forward economically? And in that tourism piece, is that something you can tap into? So many things.
So many things, and we are nearing 4 o'clock. So I don't know if you had any closing.
I
Remarks?
just want to say thank you again for letting me be here to kind of do a more in-depth discussion and share this information about, KPED and what else do we do? We don't just roam around the municipalities and talk. We do other stuff. And we really, really believe in our goal of making the peninsula a great place to work and live and raise families and visit. And we want to make sure that that goal is extended to every community on the peninsula. So thank you, Rachel, for the invitation, and thanks for coming and tuning in.